Columbine High School closed today to observe the date. A private service for the victims' families planned a little later today. 13 people killed, including a teacher, when 2 student gunmen opened fire inside the school library. Craig Scott, the former Columbine student, he joins us now live from Denver. He was inside that library. That's where those attacks began. His sister Rachel, believed also to be the first victim murdered by those student gunmen. Sir, I appreciate you being here, Craig. First, no day really after those attacks 10 years ago can be easy. But what are the anniversary days? You've gone through now all of these. What are the actual anniversary days like, and how are they different from the other days?
The anniversary days are a very memorable day for me, more memorable than any other day in my life. And it's a kind of unpredictable, the emotions that sometimes I go through personally. In the past, I've done well, and then other times I've had some emotional breakdowns. It's a hard day, and this is a big day for myself and my community and my family 10 years later, and looking back at all that's happened since then.
Do you want to always, well, you'll certainly never forget, but are there times over the years where sometimes you want to not necessarily participate sometimes in a way in some of those commemorations? And I know you get calls and maybe media want to talk to you, friends and family reaching out and for good reason, but sometimes do you try to be normal on a day like today?
Yeah, it's a balance of trying to be normal and spend time just with family and have private time, and then other things like media opportunities and ceremonies that happen. And the only reason that I take advantage of any media opportunities is because I feel like my family has a message to share since the shooting has happened, and we've been doing that mostly in schools, and so it's kind of trying to keep a balance.
And tell me, you mentioned you like to take advantage of these media opportunities. We're glad you're spending some time with us because you do have a message. What is that message? What has it been since that shooting that you and your family would like to get out in general, and also specifically about your sister?
Well, that day, 2 teenagers, 2 seniors at my school came in and killed 12 students and a teacher. They killed 2 friends next to me, and one of my friends they killed because he was black. They had a lot of anger and hatred in their heart, and they were very isolated and distanced themselves away from a lot of people. And the first person they killed was my sister Rachel, and my sister Rachel, she stepped out of her way a lot of times in compassion for people to show kindness. And what we share, my family started a program called Rachel's Challenge, and what we share in schools and other places is that anger, that kindness and compassion can be big antidotes to anger and hatred. And you can reach out to somebody that's feeling isolated by stepping out in compassion for that person.
And Craig, do you think you're making some inroads? We all know, we remember from school how students and young people, kids can just be mean to one another when there are other students who are different, not in that circle, not in that cool crowd, whatever it may be. Do you think you are making some inroads, and that it could have helped if somebody would have reached out to those 2 gunmen 10 years ago?
I think we are making some inroads with Rachel's Challenge, and we are. I got this last week I went out to 2 different cities, and literally this last week I had 5 students that came up to me after the presentation that told me that they were thinking about hurting themselves, that they had been contemplating suicide, and the story that we share had inspired them to hold on. We hit on compassion, but we hit on a number of things that are important to students, like the influences that you have in your life. The 2 shooters had very negative influences, to also letting people in your life, to dealing with how you treat people, because how you treat people says a lot about who you are.
Yeah, and Craig, I want to end on this one. It might be a tough one here to answer, but for years, and immediately after the shooting and for years after, it's kind of just accepted. Many people believed, and the story was out, that your sister had been asked by these gunmen, or a student was asked by these gunmen, "Do you believe in God?" The student replied yes, and the gunman fired. Now, police at times have refuted that story. There's been some back and forth and debate about it. What do you and your family believe happened?
Well, we know with my sister's story, the survivor that was with her the day of the shooting, his name is Richard Castaldo, who's paralyzed for life. He woke up out of a coma after the shooting happened a while later, and the first thing he said when he woke up to his parents, to his mom and to his grandparents was, "Where's Rachel?" And then he told them, and that they began to mock Rachel for her faith. And they came up to her and said, "Where's your God now?" And the last moment of her life, according to him, was they picked her up by her hair and said, "Do you still believe in God?" And she said, "You know, I do." And he said, "Well, go be with them." And she took her last and final shot through the temple. And I was in the school library when that happened, and there was a girl that was asked if she believed in God. Her name was Val Schnur, and there were some other people who thought maybe Cassie Bernal had been asked that. For whatever reason, they had a lot of hatred in their heart, and for some reason, God was an issue that day.
Craig, we appreciate you taking the time and sharing with us, and for the work you have been doing over the past 10 years, you and your family. So sorry for your loss and that community's loss, but thank you for being here and continuing with your work. You have a good
You're
one.
welcome. Thanks, TJ.
We will turn to a medical story.